It's the Leaders World, brought to you by Leaders World Institute. It's your space. Yes, I mean it. It's for you. It's your space where we bring you leadership content and personal development content to bring your business, to bring your life, to bring your family, to bring your career to a whole new level. And today, one of our world class leaders is here with us. And he's no stranger to the leaders world. With us, we have the former vice captain of Cameroon Indomitable Lions. He has participated in two World Cups, South Africa, in Brazil. He has been to two Africa Cup of Nations, Angola, Equatorial Guinea. He played for Ajax Cape Town, Ajax Amsterdam, Fulham FC, and a host of other teams. He is international speaker with Lead Missions International, BBC radio stations, radio programs, Sky Sports guest, co-host of the Ajax podcast, and co-founder of Big Ballers in God, the fastest growing Christian footballers movement in Europe. He is the CEO of 4P Baller, which is a consultancy that mentors, coaches, and helps manage footballers. Amongst other academic achievements, he just completed a master's in sports management and lifestyle. He is married to Bernadette with five sons and presently living in Amsterdam. And yes, you guessed right, with us in the studio. Please join me welcome the one and only Ayoung Ina.
Hello, 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 hello.
It's amazing and it's fantastic and it's just glorious having you, sir. And it's always so wonderful having you in the studio. And today is no different. We are so expectant. How have you been though?
Well, great, great. It's been great. You mentioned I've got five boys, so that's quite some some good work to do.
Yes,
But I'm
yes.
doing great. My family's doing great. My wife is doing excellent. You mentioned my wife Bernadette. I wouldn't be here without having her support. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her.
Hello, Bernadette. Shout out to you. So today we're going to be talking using your book, How to Become a Successful Professional Footballer, the four P's to a successful career. And I was like, wait, first of all, not everybody is able to become a footballer. Talk less of a successful one. Wait, should anybody else be watching this apart from footballers? Let me just ask you that. Should anybody else be watching this right now apart from footballers? Let's know.
Yes, I think it's for everybody. Besides footballers, or like in the US, you call it soccer players. Actually, one of the things I do when I show people the book, I tell them, if you are a soccer player, you can read the book and leave the soccer. But once it happens that you're not a soccer player, you can just close the football under, and you would find how to become a successful professional. And you want to be a success in anything, you want to be a professional in anything you do, which is just a proper way to be able to go about getting the best. So I think it's for everyone. And as we go along the broadcast, they will see reason why it's for everyone.
Oh, wait. So, you know what? Let's just go right into it. Let's just go right into it. How to become a successful professional. So, if I choose to close the footballer and I just say how to become a successful professional, what is it that you can tell us off the bat about becoming a successful professional? We are here to learn.
So the one of the word that drove me to coin this book, How to Become a Successful Professional, and I used the four P's to a successful career, is literally it really came from the back when I was doing my master's in sports management, and I got caught up with the marketing mix, the marketing four piece, which is a marketing mix. So you've got product, you've got price, you've got promotion, and you've got place. So that really inspired me, and it got me thinking on, okay, if I were to share certain principles that would help someone in football or in any other profession find success in a way that brings balance, how would that look like? And that is how the four P's to a successful career was coined about.
Um, in a way that brings balance. That brings us to another question about what do you mean by balance? Finding success in a way that success is success, right? Like, hey,
Yes.
I'm making it big time. I'm making it big time. So, what do you mean by balance? And is there is it possible to have success without balance? And how does that even happen?
So true. So actually, the four P's in the book, one of them is purpose, and I'll just talk about two of them just to give a clarity. Another P in the book is performance. So for me, as a footballer or as an athlete, I can be so performance driven that I'm not purpose. I don't have clarity of purpose. So then I go about training hard, working hard, learning how to play football, scoring goals, and on the field I'm the best and I'm getting results and everybody is acclaiming me and say, "Oh, this guy is really good at his craft." Why? Because I've developed the mindset to win as a performer. But when
Mm.
I'm done performing, I feel empty. I feel completely lost. I don't know who I am. I don't even know why I'm playing football because I didn't define purpose. Actually, purpose is the why, is the reason that drives you and gives you a clarity for why you're performing. And so, out of that back, I've seen a lot of athletes who are doing well on the field, but when it comes to real life, they are depressed, they are disappointed, they feel alone. And this is some of the reason that pushed some of the athletes who are earning a lot of money still to go commit suicide. Because they don't have a reason, they don't have a why, they don't have a clear purpose that is driving them why they should go. So you see, they are seemingly successful in their career, but they are not necessarily having a drive to lead because lack clarity of purpose. So that's why I talk about balance. Like there need to be a balance in that. Another way I looked at it, like how can someone be so good at your craft? When let's say they're a teacher, they can
Mhm.
teach you so well, but when you take teaching away from them, they feel they feel low self-esteem. They don't feel valuable. They don't feel like they are a great person. They don't feel like they deserve anything. So that's another P I'm adding. It means when it comes to personality, they don't know who they are. They identify themselves with what they do rather than who they are. And in fact, it's one of my favorite quote. I say, "Don't define me by what I do, define me by who I am." Because what I do can change, right? So I'm playing football today. I'm not playing football anymore. So if you keep looking at me as a footballer, then you don't discover the real me. Football is one of the platforms for me to express my gift, my person, and who I really am. So you see there
Okay,
that in
everything
terms
you
of balance, yes, in terms of balance, you cannot define success without looking at it from a lens of balance. You can't.
everything you just said is so deep, and I'm thinking, where do I start to delve into this some more? So let me just ask you, Eyong Eno, who are you?
So first of all, I'm a man of faith. For those who know and for those who don't know, I'm a man of faith. In an interview a couple of years ago, I was having an interview with a journalist, and he was asking me about my football career, and I said something to him. I said I would prefer people to know me as a child of God rather than as a professional footballer. So he was very astonished. He said, "Why?" I said, "Because as a professional footballer today, I'm one, and tomorrow I'm gonna stop. But as a child of God is who I will always be in this life and in the life to come." I felt like I needed to be identified with who I am with a value that is consistent, that is
Okay.
always staying in line. And for me, who I am, I'm a child of God. And the
Mhm.
rest of the things can flow from that person who I am.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
can say I can say I'm a child of God who is a husband. I'm a child of God who is a coach. I'm a child of God who plays football. I'm a child of God who is a dad. I'm a child of God. So that becomes my foundation of where my essence comes from, that I do every other thing that I do.
So having the mindset to win as a performer, let's say in your career, in whatever role you play in society, so it's possible to have the mindset to win as a performer. So how can we develop the mindset to win as a human being, to win in all roles of life? Because We are looking at your book, How to Become a Successful Footballer. And you say, you told us from the beginning that we could actually close the word football and just leave the word professional. So if we choose to look at it like life is not just about being a professional, it's a whole lot more. So how can we develop the mindset to win in life? How does that even happen? Is it a possibility?
Yes, it is. It is a huge possibility. Again, I'm a man of faith, and I would, that is my foundation. I wouldn't talk of different things or anything without connecting it to who I am and my essence and my being. As a man of faith, I believe I was created by God. I believe God sent me here with a purpose. And I believe that God never created a failure. God never created something to fail. So why do I say so? When Mercedes, they put out their car, they have tested it over and over and over. And they put a guarantee or a warranty on that car. And they say, if you have any issue, so and so time, come back to us. We are the manufacturers. So as confident as Mercedes is with its product, as confident as Apple is with their product, as confident as Samsung is with their product, God is also confident with me as his product, in quotes, if I may call it that way, that he has put out. And he didn't send me out to be a failure. He never sent me out not to. And when I say failure, I mean like he didn't send me out not to accomplish the reason for which he sent me out for. When you buy a car, you expect the car to drive you from one spot to another. When you
Right.
get a phone, you're expecting the call to permit you to make calls, send messages, and the applications on the phone to work for you. So
Right.
when you were sent, there were gifts and talents in you. And those gifts, you were expected to be able to discover those gifts, put them to work. And so the expression of your gift, the expression of who you really are, actually is a manifestation of success. Success is just living out who you are and the gifts that you carry.
Okay. The expression of who you are is the manifestation of success.
Yes.
I like that line. So, if I'm not succeeding, does it mean I'm not expressing who I am?
If you're not, if you don't see yourself as a success, because you need to see it, and you need to define what is success to you for you to even say to even think that you are a success. You need, that's, you need to be objective. And I think later on I'm going to talk about it, but it comes from self-awareness that there should be people that inspire you. There should be things that you dream to do. There should be things that you desire to achieve, to accomplish. Now if there are none of those things, then you need to go start there before you can even measure and say, are you successful or not? So before you ask yourself, am I successful? What is success to you? What does it mean to be successful? Do you need to get a doctorate degree before you say, oh, I'm a success? Do you need to become a wife? Do you need to become a mother? Do you need to become a teacher? Do you need to become a professional footballer who has signed his contract to say, okay, now I feel like a success? So there is success defined by society. There's success defined by a standard of living, by culture, by community, by statistics. But there's also success, which is about how you are confident of how much you've expressed yourself. I think that's really where success really starts. In fact, one person said something: success is not as much as achieving things rather than becoming a better you.
Oh, wow.
And this was said by Jim Rohn. He was talking about how people are pursuing things outside to feel successful, and they spend little time to invest in the real success, which is themselves. He said, if you would grow yourself and develop yourself and become better, he said the rest of the things will be aligning towards you. And I really love that line of Jim Rohn because it really touched in the core of Steve Covey's book on the 7 habits of highly effective people, where he talked about really true success is really starting from within you and influenced by the intrinsic self rather than from thing outside. This is so important because you become the one who defines success compared to when success is defined to you from the external. Then now the external start to dictate how valuable you see yourself, how worthy you see yourself, how good you feel about yourself. But if you can define success in yourself, by yourself, within yourself, just be inspired by the things outside, but define it within yourself. Because success for me would not. I say success is individual, it's personal, right? So for me, I want to be a success is I dream to become the best teacher in a small village. Now, it doesn't mean because I'm not teaching in a university, that doesn't make me a success. By my dream, my passion, my purpose, I'm a success because I'm investing time and I'm impacting students in my small village and I'm doing what I love and I'm glad and I feel fulfilled about it. So actually success, like defined by a few people, especially I love the one of L. Nightingale, where it says success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
Ideal.
And that has to be personal. It can't be defined by anyone else. And that is why it's important to connect with your source, to connect with your origin, to connect with, for me as a child of God, as a man of faith, I'm connecting to God. So actually, he gives me a blueprint of what success is to me. And that is so important. And then I begin to relate with people that I feel like they have walked the same path that I've walked. And I begin to look at how they did it. And I begin to learn from their principles, their values, their works, their books. And then I begin to get a proper measurement of what I was called to do and what success is to me.
So where does success begin? Like, say somebody's watching right now and they're like, you're talking about becoming a successful professional. I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what are there like clear paths to how to begin this whole journey, despite the space that you find yourself in. Is there any like clear-cut way to do this whole thing?
Yes, there is a clear cut. And again, I'll go back to the definition of Earl Nightingale because I think it's one of the most powerful definition of success I've heard. It is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. I can take it in two fronts. So the first front is, what do you want to achieve to make you feel as a success?
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be complex. Like you want to become a doctor, you don't become a doctor by sleeping and waking up. You become a doctor by first reading one book,
Right.
writing one test, doing one research. So success is a progression and it is a realization of a certain ideal. What is that ideal? I want to become a doctor. So when you go through that process and that realization and become a doctor, you have achieved success at that level. And that is why it is progressive. And that is why it is a realization. And so if you are in that place where you don't even know what success is, the thing is, what do you want to achieve in your life? Just to ask yourself my question. Maybe you feel like I need to learn how to speak. Maybe you feel like I need to learn how to write. Maybe you think like, oh, my business is making 10,000. I need to scale it to probably 15,000. Once you have something that you want, there's an ideal that you want to attain and you work towards it, you're working on success, and that's success for you. And
Wow.
every time you achieve it, I think one time on the broadcast I mentioned that success is like an onion that is layers upon layers upon
I,
layers, and every time
I love that metaphor. I loved it. I loved it. Tell us about the onion.
yes. So I'll use my own personal life. For example, one of the layers of onion I had as an ideal in pursuit was to become a professional footballer playing in Europe. But do you know something? That
What?
onion layer is over. I already achieved it. So is that all about my life? Do I stop living because I already played as a professional footballer and I'm going to sit back and relax and say, you know what? I made it. It's over. No, there was a reason why I hit that first layer of onion so that I can get the experiences, so that I can get the contact, so that I can get the platform. And then it's all about me using it now to inspire the next generation of young people. So quickly,
You know,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
you said something about the why, and that for every profession, you must have a clear why, because if you don't have it, then you're going to be involved with the mindset to perform. And after the performance, you feel dry and empty. And it's a really, really down place because many things can happen in that down place, including the S word.
Yes.
People
Yes.
actually taking their own lives,
Yeah.
because they've
Yeah.
accomplished all these things, and then in the end, while everybody's applauding them, they sit back and they're like, my life is empty, my life is vain, my life is nothing, my life is
Yeah.
no good. And
Yeah.
the worst things happen. So how
Yeah.
do we really define a why that can keep us resilient and going, even after we've achieved all what we've achieved and people have applauded, and we've gone through the phase of world acclaim and fame, like you've gone through all those stages of being famous, and you wrote in your book about how everybody did things for you. They took care of your shoes, took care of your clothes and everything. You didn't book any flight tickets on your own. Like everything was done for you basically, and you just came in as, the master, as the king, and enjoyed all of that. And now you're in another phase in life where you talked about actually literally going and booking your own flight tickets for the first time, which is something you were not doing before. And whether we like it or not, we are all going to go through those phases. And
Yeah.
even if it's not people not serving us no more, as was your case, age will catch up with us, okay?
Yeah.
And we are
Yeah.
going to slow down. All of that
Hmm.
speed isn't going to happen no more. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the time when, because we are slower now, we tend to think more. We tend to
Yeah.
reflect more on life. And we
Mm-hmm.
are hoping nobody gets, into the crisis with sickness and illness and stuff like that. But when we come to that space, how can we now define the why right now, so that it carries us through life with resilience and fulfillment and happiness and joy, knowing that we lived a full life till the end? How can we define the why? That seems to be a hard thing to do.
Really, really, I would say that's a hard thing to do. Definitely, as well as it could be as the most simplest of things to do. Defining that
Oh.
why can be the hardest thing to do, and could be the simplest. There's always the plus and the negative. There's always these extremities. And
Mm,
I would definitely just talk about myself. Like probably for my example, it could inspire someone about finding their why. As a
mhm,
young man, I was academically driven. I was also talentically, in terms of talent, I was multi-talented. I could dance, I could sing, I could write, I could do many things. So
mhm,
sometimes when you're very multi-talented and you have different abilities, finding your why could be very challenging because you're very active in different things and you see yourself having the ability to do many, many other things. So one of the first step for those who are people of faith, you will need to connect to your source because one, uh, you did not come by yourself. There's someone who thought about you. For those who read the Bible, there's a verse in the good book which says, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you and I ordained you to be a prophet. That was for that guy called Jeremiah. But for you, you could be something different. Maybe you were ordained to be a teacher. Maybe you were ordained to be
mhm,
a scientist. Maybe you were ordained to be a political leader, or you were ordained to be an entrepreneur in business. And that you need to find out. One of the things
mhm,
I say, and I personally believe that, is that the why of every human being is mostly evident in their childhood.
hmm,
And so, for most people who are struggling to find their why, they should go back and trace in their childhood. Because I think God, who is all wise, will not make it so complex to find. He puts it so much so that from a little child, you can begin to, the innocence, before you get your mind full with issues of solving,
hmm,
is so much packaged you in a way that your childlike interest would
mhm.
be in the things that you were born and designed to do.
So,
Now,
Mr. Ayon Eno, what is your why?
my why, which I finally discovered after all these years, was to inspire others to become a better version of themselves.
So, are you saying that from childhood you were experiencing this desire to inspire people?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Somebody needs to
So
hear this.
so from a child, one of those musicians that I really admired at the time was Michael Jackson, right? So Michael Jackson would dance, and the talent he had was so powerful because in expressing that talent, many people were inspired. He would, for those who don't know, he practiced a lot to become a master in what he was doing in his craft.
Mhm.
So I really, I love dancing at that young age. So I would dance,
Mhm.
I would practice like him. And so there was already the same drive in me to inspire others. I was also fascinated by someone like Bruce Lee. For those who watch movies that then, he was a teacher, a karate a specialist as well. He was a movie actor. So I always saw myself probably acting in movie. So everything around me was about inspiring people to become a better version of themselves. But from that young age, I didn't have the proper guide. I didn't have the person that would tell me, okay, this is the talent I see in you. But in my own way, I was trying to express it in dancing, in drawing. I was drawing also. I would get a book and then I would just be artistically putting down different things that were coming to my mind. Now, if someone saw this, they were going to be inspired by it. And I know for sure that my football career became one of those expressions of my purpose that
Yes.
many young people would never believed that it's possible to be a man of integrity, to be a man that is honest, to be a man that is only based on his faith and trust in God and hard work and God's favor could make it to the top. And that was an inspiration, not just for football, but for young people in different career sectors. So my life has become an inspiration to
Wow.
them. And that is
Wow.
the main reason for why I'm here. And I would
Wow.
say this: your why is not always about you. If
Mm.
you're When you define your why, you will see that your why is about serving other people. The
Yes.
contradictory aspect is ambition. And I think ambition, healthy ambition, is important. It's necessary to be ambitious in a healthy way.
Mm.
But when your ambition is what drives you and your why is not what drives you, probably because you don't know or you don't have a clue, then everything will be about you, about what you
Mm.
want to achieve, what you want to attain. I think healthy ambition should be subjected to your why. Your
Mm.
why should be what drives your ambition. I want to become the best doctor because I want to serve people. I want to become the biggest professor because I want to teach not just knowledge to the children, to my students, but life to my
Mm.
students. I want
Wow.
to inspire a young person to believe that they can become the next leader
Wow.
in politics that would change the narrative.
Mm.
And and now when I inspire these young people, they look at me and they don't just see the success in football, they see the person, they see the quality, and they also want to emulate that.
Wow. Listen, if you're watching, I think Mr. Eno is doing so good. And I think you all need to do better. Can you all put in the chat for me, hashtag find your why, hashtag find your why. Let us know you're watching, okay? Just do it right now. Let's do it right now. Let's go to the chat. Everybody, let's go. Let him know you're watching. Let him know that you're there. And if you have a question, please ask your question before our time runs out. Hashtag find your why. Mr. Eno, you see, when you talked about finding your why and that your why is buried in you, and from the time of innocence, there is something about you that spoke to your why. I just feel compelled. I've been like asking myself the first few seconds whether I should share this or not, because I always like to make the platform about my guests, but I think somebody needs this. I When I was growing up, I wanted to be a journalist. Okay. I wanted to be a journalist. I was that student that, like, if the teacher calls people to read in class and I stand up to and I sit to read, my friends one time said that when I'm reading, it's like a ghost has
Mm,
passed in the classroom. Like
mm,
you could hear a pin fall. So there was
mm,
something about me and my vocal abilities that was
mhm,
obvious from the time I was a child. In
mm,
secondary school, sometimes I would stand and be having a conversation with friends, and I'll have people walk by and then turn around to just look at me again. So it
mm,
was the vocal abilities. So when I was growing up, I was like, I have to become a journalist and I will
mm,
become the best journalist ever and I'll work with
mm,
CNN. Guess what?
mm,
I never told nobody. I hid it in my
mm,
heart. And then it was
mm,
time to go to the university, and and I brought the forms, and my mother said, "What do you want? What are you feeling in there?" I said I'm feeling that journalism. I had everything to go to the University of Bayer, all the points. You had to have sufficient points, and I had
Yeah.
everything that
Yeah.
was required. And she said, journalism. She said that's cheap publicity for nothing.
Mm.
She
Mm.
said, I want you to become a magistrate. That's what you
Mm.
should become.
Mm. Mm.
They are respected. They have the money.
Yeah.
Not journalism. It's cheap publicity
Mm.
for nothing. That's way back in
Mm.
Cameroon. That's what she said.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
guess what? Who are you to go and put journalism in the whole thing when, okay, you're not paying the fees. You're not,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and you know how it goes with parenting in Africa. So
Yeah.
guess what? Yours only put law. I put law.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
went in and did my 4-year degree, a law degree, came out. I was in the chambers working as a people lawyer,
Okay. Okay.
waiting for the bar entrance and all of that stuff to go into the magistracy and stuff. Brother, that season of my life was one of the most miserable seasons I have ever been through.
Mm.
We would go
Mm.
to court. We would go to release people from jail and stuff. And every time we went to court, I would sit there, and it's like the whole life was being drained out of me.
Mm.
And I'll
Mm.
be asking myself, what am I doing here? Why
Mm.
am
Mm.
I here? What am I doing here? Why am I
Mm.
here? All the while I
Yeah.
was going through school, I had no
Mm.
feelings like that until I was in the job. It was horrible.
Mm.
Somehow,
Mm.
by
Mm.
God's plans, I got married. And, out of abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. One day, my husband said, darling, nobody's forcing you to be a lawyer.
Mm.
It's like my whole destiny was waiting to hear that. And that's how I stopped
Wow.
going to the chambers. But guess what? I didn't know what
Mm.
else to do with my life. And
Mm.
now I have defined my purpose, okay? I am called to empower and transform lives so people can maximize their potential and fulfill their purpose. That's what I'm called to do. So that's my why.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
wasn't about journalism, brother. It wasn't about journalism.
Mm.
That's why whether I found myself in the
Mm.
classroom, whether
Mm.
I found myself in the boardroom, whether I found myself on a stage like this one, I have one purpose. I
Yeah.
have one why. And I want my
Mm.
children to grow up and know that mommy lived for that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where it begins for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So tell us about
Wow.
some of the challenges that people face between the dream and the realization.
Hmm.
To
Yes.
you,
Yes.
some of the challenges
Yeah.
people face between the dream and the realization.
Yeah. The challenges, they are numerous. The dream, and like I said, the dream always starts. God puts the dream in the heart of every human being from childhood. Like you had a dream, your why was in the dream, the things you saw yourself. I also saw it as a child. And then I think the culture, one of the challenges is the culture. For you talked about your parents, and they did what they knew. They did it best to their level, and whatever they did it out of good intentions. They really wanted
Yes.
to make sure that you get the best out of life. And that's why I think you are the only one who can really discover your purpose. You are the one who can define your why. And that's why when you see someone or you discover someone that has something that connects to your why, don't let them go. Pursue them, especially someone who is already working in the things you're aspiring to work in. Make sure you pursue them. So the cultural background could be a challenge. Ignorance is a huge challenge. Ignorance
Mm,
is a huge challenge. You want to make sure that when you see that, that's why you need to take a time to write. If you were to live for something, just one thing, what would that be? You write it down, and then you start to find avenues where that stuff can be fed. So ignorance is one of them. Lack of awareness, like I said, you're not aware. You and lack of mentors, proper mentors, those who can, in the environment where you are, you don't have people who can mentor you in that direction, can be a huge hindrance. Lack of resources can be a huge hindrance. You lack the resources to be able to be able to study, to be able to connect with people. So you have all those different things that can be. But I would I would say this, like, irrespective of all the challenges that can really be there to stop someone from identifying their why or walking in their why, I want to say that when that person really understand the reason they were given that why and I become aware to it, everything around them becomes a stepping stone. Everything around them becomes a
Wait,
motivation.
that was so good. That was so good. Do you want to say it all over again? When it passing, blank, blank, blank. What?
Yeah.
Just say it again.
So, irrespective of the challenges, the obstacles that could stop someone from their why, like my dad didn't know anything about football, my mom didn't know anything about football. And when I discovered that my why was connected to football, I was ready to go against every person just to pursue my why. And many people did not see it, but I discovered it. And this is what I call stubborn conviction. Stubborn conviction, in which is a strong conviction in yourself about what you know you were born to do. Then every other person around you become a reason for which you must do this. Now, they don't like nobody was an obstacle to me anymore. You know, when you, like I said, all those different situations can be a hindrance if you see them to be like that. But I would advise everybody, just narrow down on your why. See everything from your why. The rest of the things will become reasons and stepping stones and motivations why I must pursue this thing. What if, what if, what if, what if, what if I took that step? What if I dared? What if, what if? Why should I not? Why should I not? At the end of the day, it's your life. It's your dream.
Wow.
It's your purpose. Only you can do this. Only you can take that step. Only you can dare it. Only you can dare it.
Wow. Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the one and only Eyoung Ina, who is no stranger to most of us already. And we are looking at how to become a successful footballer. But guess what? He advised us from the beginning that we could go ahead and close this because not many of us will actually get to becoming footballers, you know? So let's go ahead and close this and just talk about how to become a successful person in everything that you do. And one of the things that you mentioned is starting with the end in mind.
Yes.
Starting with the end in mind, as far as the journey to being successful in your profession, in your career, in whatever you are doing. Okay, I see somebody saying something really sweet in the chat. That's Anita. She says, let's share this. A lot of people should hear this. Yes, everyone, let's go. Share it right now. Share it right now. Share it right now. Because a lot of people need to hear this. And something else that, oh, I forgot to mention, please send stars. Okay. Facebook has made it in a way that you can actually send me stars. So go ahead and send me stars. Okay. And when you send us stars, what you're doing is you are helping more people to get this content that you're getting. Another thing is we want you to comment in the chat. It helps the algorithm and helps people to see this more. So go ahead and keep on writing in the chart. Every nugget that you get, put it in the chart, in the chat. Is going to help people to see it better. So for right now, if you're watching and you're just joining us and you did not put find your why in the chat, please do that. Hashtag find your why. We are talking about beginning with the end in
In mind.
mind. And we are looking at those strategies, how to do it. Just go ahead and how do we do this?
Begin with the end in mind. I think it's a very powerful principle. Literally, I think Steve Covey mentioned it in his book as one of the habits of highly effective people. Begin with the end in mind. It's so important because it's like going on a journey without a destination. So I'm just gonna go somewhere, and I'm gonna spend my resources, my time, just trying to go somewhere I don't know. So beginning with the end in mind means, where do you want to go to? What do you want to achieve? I think I mentioned that a little bit. What do I want to achieve?
Okay.
What do I want to achieve? So you
Mm-hmm.
have what I call the long-term end goal in mind. You have the short-term end goal in mind. I have the mid-term end goal in mind. So
Right.
for me, my long-term end goal in mind at a certain phase of my successful football career was to play at the national team, was to be
Right.
able to play at the Champions League. But I was still in Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to now start taking the steps to get there. So that's my end objective. Now, what does it take for me to get there? There are things that I would need to do, because that's not going to happen by itself. So number one, I would have to first define. We already talked about. I'll define why I want to get to that end, because your why becomes your drive. Every time you feel discouraged, you feel low, you feel kind of heavy, like what, like I don't have the energy, is because you're disconnected from your why. Your why,
Right.
your why is what fuels you. When you realize that the world can become better if you wake up and do something, when you
Mm-hmm.
realize that a multitude of young people will be inspired by one of your actions, you say, oh my, if when I realize that a shift can happen in my whole family and my generation because I decided to take this step, wow, I can't sleep. I can't sleep. And yes, I have the energy. So begin with the end in mind. You have to have your why before you, that gives you that state up, and then you see the long-term end in mind, the midterm end in mind, and then the immediate end in mind. What
Mm.
are my immediate end in mind? At the moment, I want to become a professional footballer. What should I be doing? I need to be disciplined with my time. I need to be disciplined with my eating. I need to be disciplined with my relationships. There are certain relationships that
Mm.
I see and I know, when I look at my end in mind, this relationship is not going to help me get there. There are
Wow.
certain places I go to, when I look at my end in mind, this is not going to help me get there. One of the things your beginning with the end in mind helps you is that it helps you to give you discipline. It helps you to give you clarity of the decisions you make. It helps you to be able to pick your company, the friends, the people
Mm.
around you, because you want to be around people that will keep fueling what you see, that end in mind. You want to be around people that will keep driving you. And then also, you want to talk to people who probably have walked that journey, who could be giving you tips, who could be giving you. And a very important thing I want to talk about having end in mind is that you're looking at something you want to get to, but you haven't got there yet. And there are people that you need who have walked that journey. That's mentorship. You need to be able to connect to mentorship. So important, like what Leaders World Institute is doing. There are many people who have dreams and goals, and they have an end in mind. But you have a dynamic host here who's already doing this, and you would love to do this in the future. What do you have to do? Since you have the same end in mind, which is already living, just connect. Just connect. Write her in the chat and say, I love what you're doing. I see myself doing this. That's my end in mind. But I would like to learn from you. I would like you to take me along. I would like you to hold my hand along. So those are some of the things that, when you have the end in mind, it would define your discipline, your relationships around. It will help you protect your dream.
Mm.
It will
Mm.
help you
Wow.
protect your dream. It will give a clear definition to your time. You always look at, where am I putting my time? I have this end in mind. You can't say my end in mind is to become the best journalist, and you're not investing time in that. You're using your time to watch movies, you're using your time to hang out around friends. It's not gonna happen. Forget that. Actually, you just design a new end in mind when you started interacting with these people on a daily basis. You started defining a new end in mind. The other one
Mm.
is no more real. You are redesigning it. If you want to achieve that end in mind, what are the things that you need to do on a daily basis from now on, by the hour, by the day, by the week? So that is what I call focusing on the immediate action now that will define your end in mind.
Wow. And what you said just made us to understand that we need to keep the focus the main thing, and keep the main thing the focus.
Yeah.
Keep the focus the main thing, and keep the main thing the focus. Otherwise we might be derailed, and then every other year you're having a new end in mind, and
Yeah.
that might really be a hard situation to build momentum
Yeah.
towards progress.
Mm.
We are coming back, and when we come back, I'd like you to speak about the balloon bubble. All right, we are going to talk about the balloon bubble when we come back.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. This is the Leaders World with our dynamic guest, who is author of How to Become a Successful Professional Footballer, the 4 Ps to a Successful Career, and he's nobody else but the legendary 𝗂𝘂𝗰𝗄, and he is speaking with us. And in the book, he talked about the balloon bubble. I was like, why the imagery? And I just share with us this nugget from your book about the balloon bubble. Why did you choose to use that imagery, and what can we learn from that?
Well, yeah, when I was thinking about it, the balloon bubble is imagery of a lot of air that you put in a balloon is locked up, and then the air stays inside. So actually, air is supposed to move into free space. Like it's not supposed to be contained. It's supposed to be free to move into through trees and through different aspects in nature. It's supposed to be free, and it takes the form of wherever it goes into and then goes out. And then you have this air that has become trapped in the balloon and is tied. And that, when I was reflecting over my career and talking to a few other footballers, and I think this also applies to other careers as well, where you become so good and so involved and consistent with what you're doing in terms of performance that this becomes the only world you know. And this
Wow.
cuts you off from every other reality. And so once you are taken out of that context, you become lost.
Well, is it like people who are working, say, like teachers? Okay, shout out to my teachers out there. Is it like teachers who maybe when they retire, they get into that zone? Is it the same kind of situation, or people working for the government or in the military and then they retire? Basically, when people retire, is it like the same kind of situation for
Yes,
people
it
who work
is.
all the Okay, all
It
right.
is. It is. Because our brain is set up to be very, very efficient and to work perfectly.
Mm,
So whatever I expose my brain to over and over and over again, my brain gathers tools and abilities to become effective in that thing that I'm exposing my brain to. So if I've
right.
exposed my brain to football, to training, so my brain becomes linear. It becomes
Mm,
tunnel in its
mm,
ability to be able to articulate and to begin to navigate. And so if I take myself out, so I'll use my example as a footballer, like I said, you go through this routine over and over. So it becomes like you build habits of life habits. And then you need
right.
to switch to another life with and then start learning new habits. It's like someone who's never walked and is 40 years old and you has to start learning how to walk.
Mm,
You've stayed 40 years of not walking and you need to start learning how to walk at 40 years old. It's
mm,
much easier as a child to learn how to walk who is just born than an old man at 40. It's
mm,
exactly the same thing. You've been in a field for 40 years. You've never had the dynamism to explore other things, to be social, to go out, to explore different things, to be open to reading other books, understand how other people think, different
mm,
cultures, different. You've not traveled, you don't have that exposure. So you become locked up to this routine life, training, matches, training, matches, training camps, matches, training camps, small vacation. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you become locked up in a balloon bubble. The first
wow.
thing when you get out of that bubble is what happens to a fish when it's taken out of water. The fish begins to suffocate. The fish
Mm,
starts to choke. It is shock. Its whole system is in shock. What is surviving on is the small water that the fish took from the water in the sea. It's trying to live on it to survive. Once all of that water is drained out of it, if you don't animate the fish or put it in an artificial setting out of
mm,
water, the fish is not going to survive. So that's a whole process. I call it transition. That's a
you're right.
whole transition on 3 dimensions that you have to do: spiritual, emotional, mental, psychological, and
Mm.
just external. There need to be an environment out of your normal environment that will introduce you slowly into this new atmosphere. So the balloon bubble for me is you're locked up in this. And so as an athlete, I can become so locked up in my performance and in my career that when I get home, the average man who is not in my career becomes more aware of some certain things in his home that I will not be seeing.
Mm.
So you're wondering, like, how come this guy can't see this stuff? Because he's locked up in a balloon bubble.
Mm.
He's not going out of that content. There's nothing challenging him and pushing him out of that. And that becomes his comfort. And that becomes his natural go-to place. Every time he feels a challenge, he wants to go back to that place. And that's the balloon bubble. And
Wow, wow.
that's why
Not actually meaning to like stir up too much water that needs to be stirred, but when you're talking, I'm thinking, because as a person of faith as well, I think about maybe like some men of God, pastors, bishops, how they live their lives, and it looks to me like some kind of a balloon bubble, and
yeah,
disconnected from real life, and you
yeah,
have all these people praising you, and
yeah, yeah,
when you come home, it's like you cannot fit in your own home. You can't
yes.
just be a father to your
Mm,
children and a
mm-hmm.
husband to your wife, and you're expecting her and your children to serve you like how the people out there they are doing it. And then you start looking like, oh, maybe they're not fit for me, or
Yeah, yeah,
and then we see all these situations happening just because they did not balance and understand that life is multidimensional.
true.
And I really like how you are explaining that to us. And I was also looking in your book, and you talked about these 4 P's, and you have talked about purpose, and how we need to define our whys, and the personality that you tie with who you really are as a person. If you're stripped off if you're stripped I'm trying if you're stripped off of all the titles and your job and everything else you're doing out there, who are you? Okay, who are you? Okay,
Yeah,
if everything else is taken away, your profession, your titles, and everything, who are you? Who are you? And that's the person that carries you. That's the identity that carries you throughout the different phases of transitioning from one stage of life to another stage of life.
yeah,
Sometimes it's just transitioning from being an employee to an employer,
yeah,
or transitioning from being an employee to an entrepreneur, starting
yeah,
your own life, starting
yeah,
your own business, doing your own thing. So,
yeah,
who are you helps you, who you are helps you to transition, and having a clear why.
mm,
It helps you to transition more smoothly and to find fulfillment in everything that you do.
yeah,
If I got you right, I think
yes,
this is what you've been teaching us. So,
yes.
the P of personality, the P of purpose, and what are the other two P's again?
So we've got performance. Performance actually is the mindset of producing results. It's
Okay.
literally exploring your potential and to
Mhm.
be able to give in your best to get the best out of all the potential, all the gifts, and all the skills. It's a self awareness of the things you have, your talent, your gift, and how to develop a winning and successful mindset, because it all starts in the mind. You may have the talent, but you need to have the mindset for performance, the mindset for winning. I call it grit. And the final one is I term it prosperity, but it's much more about money, because at the end of the day, whatever you're doing, you're going to jump into a trap of money. And you're gonna get into a trap of money, and if you shy away from dealing with it, the money issue is gonna deal with you.
Oh, oh.
So I give myself as a perfect example. Like in the book, I say, how do you expect a professional footballer who has spent all their life investing in performing, and what they get in exchange is the platform, is the fame plus money, but they never had no work done or education on the money they've been working all these years for?
Mm.
And so I say this, it's just a delayed failure with the money they have.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter how many millions they make, because they never had the financial literacy to manage the money, they will lose it. It doesn't
That
matter.
brings us again to the multidimensionality of life
Yes.
and being able to manage those different resources that have been um, um, gracefully entrusted into our hands and knowing what to do with them. And that boils down to our why and us understanding why we are here throughout the different phases of life. You
Yep.
talked about purpose, personality, performance, and what is the last P?
That's prosperity. So the prosperity is, it's the prosperous mindset, and physically it can be translated to money, it can be translated to relationships, it can be translated to network, it can be translated to different things. It's the prosperous mindset that we put around everything we do. But of course, people understand the money language much easier. So we need to use money as is as is more tangible for people to be able to get it.
As the symbol for prosperity. Now, as we are zeroing down and boiling down to the end of the of this live stream of this show of this whatever you call it, if you have a question, okay, go ahead and write your question in the chat so our guest can answer your question before he leaves us. We don't have him every day, so this is your chance to ask him that question you've been wanting to ask him. You've been wanting to ask him. So we are looking at how to become a successful professional footballer. We are looking at the nuggets that are in this book, and he advised us we can actually close the footballer and have professional and still find a lot of value from the book, and still find a lot of value from the book. Why did you write this book?
Why did I write this book? I was thinking about doing an autobiography, and I felt like if I write an, an autobiography, most people are going to read about my life, which I will do later on. But what drove me to write the book is when I read Ray Dalio's book on principles.
Hmm.
Ray Dalio's book on principle was just talking about principles are proven concepts over time that cuts across different generations. That if
Yes.
you fit in any career, you fit in any circumstance, they will stay applied.
Hmm.
So if I take the 4 P's and ask a mom, her purpose, her personality, her performance, and her finances, everything is still going to tie to that. Can relate in it. She can put herself in each of them and measure where she needs to find balance in each of them. And one of the things about the 4P that made me to start the 4P is that anything you talk about in life, you can connect it to one of the P's. There's nothing you can talk about that you cannot relate it to one of the P. Whether it's your why, it's your personality, it's your performance, or it is just about prosperity. If they all tie, it's 4 pillars that everything in your life can be connected to it.
Wow. So we have one question, and that might be the only question we are getting, unless we become maybe super duper gracious if you ask a question after now. But we have a question from Annabelle, and Annabelle says, "How can maybe that's purpose? Do you associate purpose to success? That is the question. How do you associate purpose with success? How do you make the link? How do you tie it together? Purpose and success."
So if you take the word success without purpose, it would just be ambition, right? And ambition is about yourself. So you define it like I have a master's degree, so I'm successful. I'm a good professor. So you are success by yourself, by standard around, and that's good. It is an ambitious setting. But the next thing is, true success is not until you're able to inspire others, you're able to impact others, and that is where purpose comes inside. And so your definition of success should be subjective, should be submitted to purpose. Purpose is about how you're impacting others, how you're serving others with whatever. If you would become the best doctor and you can show for it, those whose life you've impacted, how you've transformed the next generation, you're not a success. You're an
Wow.
ambitious person who hasn't transformed any life.
Wow. And don't get us wrong, ambition is good because if you want some good things for yourself, that's where it begins. But if you want to create significance, you should be able to transition from just having an ambition and truly having a purpose. And that
Yeah.
is what we are talking about. And that's how you begin to affect lives. So true success is not just about you, it's about how many lives you have influenced. And because our viewer is really relentless with this, we are going to take this last question. How are what are the main keys to understand your success? That's still from Annabelle. What are the main keys to understand your success? And that would be the last question we can take, because our time is running out, sir.
What are the main keys to understand your success? Ask yourself, have you done everything you could have done?
Okay.
That's important. Have you done it? Do you feel like you could have done better? Are there things that you still have the desire to do, to touch lives, to do this, to build a school, to do this? If you still have those things driving your inside, there are two things. One, you can still do it yourself, or you can find others who have that same dream and inspire them to do it. So you can live it through other people. So those are the keys that you can understand that you have success when you feel fulfilled, when you're happy within yourself that you've done the best that you could do, and you can now sit back and continue to counsel, to advise others, but you feel very fulfilled, you feel satisfied, you feel joyful, like even when you feel like there are things you could have done, but you've compensated for them by investing in other people who are following the same dream.
Wow. Wow. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I was having a session with a coaching client yesterday. He's a professor at a university, and we've been working for 6 months. So that was our last session. I was like, "Hey, Doc, do you want to tell me what's the value you've had with working with me?" And when he told me all the beautiful things he was saying, the last thing he said was, "Now I will know that I am truly successful when I have
Mm,
raised others."
mm,
He
mm,
said, I need to go and raise others. That's when
mm.
I will know that I am truly successful. I was like,
Yeah.
he knows the assignment. He understands the assignment. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put in the chat the link. I've been putting it already. The link to the links to Mr. Eno's content. And for those of us who are footballers, you want to get in touch with the legend himself to help you. He manages, trains, and mentors footballers. You want to definitely click on those links, and you can also get a copy of the book. It's on Amazon. Do we have other places we can have this book, sir?
Well, for now, it's on Amazon and also on Kindle Read. You can check it if you just want the Kindle Read version of it, and you can also order the paperback. We're working on the audio version for now, so bear that for now.
Beautiful. So while we are coming to the close of this program, thank you for hanging there with us. We want you to put in the chat hashtag know your why. If there is one thing I'm leaving this session with, I need to go back and look at that why again. I have to look at it from the viewpoint of the end of my life. When I go there to that place, am I going to say I lived it out to the full? Mr. Ayong, there are many people who are here just because it was you. There are many people that's going to watch this just because it was you that was on the show. If you had last words for your viewers, what would you tell them?
My last words that I would tell them is that when your purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. When your why is not known, abuse will be inevitable. We know about others abusing us, but many people don't know about self abuse. When you don't know your why, you will abuse yourself. You will ridicule your potential and underestimate your greatness. Pursue your why today, live it out, and you would have made full value of you were born to be, to do, and to transform your world.
Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we are thanking you for joining us on The Leader's World. please go ahead and share this broadcast as widely as you can. It's allowed. Share it as widely as you want. It's allowed. And we'll see you during the next broadcast. I see this one question, and you're asking about the Momo. Yes, we are going to let you know how you can also give using Momo. And bye for now.